The family curse of the Kennedy clan promises its members death from terrible diseases and disasters. John F. Kennedy, who had always been optimistic about life, was sure that he would be spared the evil fate. And after meeting the beautiful Caroline Bisset and really believed that he would live happily ever after, how wrong he was. Both in his security and in the beloved woman, John Kennedy, and in the beloved woman, John Kennedy and Carolyn Bisset fell in love at first sight. At first their romance was like a fairy tale, but over time, under the pressure of society and the scrutiny of the media, has turned into a nightmare. Most likely this love story would have ended in the most banal way, but the celebrities died in a plane crash, and the words said in church, "Till death do us part," became an eerie reality. The marriage of John Kennedy and Carolyn Bisset lasted only about 3 years, until the couple died in a plane crash. Their union was thought to be perfect, but whether it really was, you'll find out in our video. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. America's first son, the most handsome man in the United States and potential president of the country, John F. Kennedy, needed a worthy match. It was written about on the front pages of every newspaper. There was no shortage of candidates, but for some reason all of them were in show business. Historians not without a smile note that John has it from his father. Charismatic and charming, Kennedy dated Sarah Jessica Parker, Madonna. Journalists even put Princess Diana's name on the list of his amorous conquests, and the Sun tabloid talked in color about the fantastic night of the British princess and the American handsome in New York's Carlisle Hotel, where John Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe once met in secret. The press liked to describe the success of the son of the 35th President of the United States and the personal front, particularly generously unstitching epithets from women's novels: tireless, tender, delightful lover. This definition was given to him by actress Daryl Hannah, with whom he had a brief but stormy affair. However, even if John had not met Carolyn, the mother of our hero Jacqueline Kennedy would not have allowed his official affair with Daryl, or Madonna and Sarah. Another mésalliance between Kennedy and Hollywood she would not have tolerated, but of all these women Kennedy Jr. had forgotten as soon as he saw her. The fateful meeting took place at the Calvin Klein boutique in New York, where Carolyn Bisset was acting as a senior manager for VIP clients. A couple of years earlier, she had walked the runway and tried her hand as a fashion columnist. Carolyn had a dazzling appearance, though not everyone would call her a beauty. She was 180 km tall, weighed 55 kg, had lustrous blonde hair, an irresistible and very wide smile, and blue eyes. John F. Kennedy could not resist. Carolyn was, as they say, from the simple, the mother, the administrator in the school, his father, a carpenter, his stepfather, a doctor. But the origin of Bisset did not worry her future husband. Their romance did not develop easily because the elected one was a very complicated character. But John was ready to forgive his beloved woman absolutely everything. 2 years later they married, and Carolyn became the rightful mistress of John in a 250-meter loft in New York's Triga area. On September 21, the ceremony took place on Cumberland Island, Georgia. The couple somehow managed to keep the event a secret from the paparazzi, so only 24 closest friends and relatives attended the celebration. Everything happened in a small wooden church, at the feet of which was taken a single photo. In the picture, the new husband is kissing the hand of his wife, dressed in the most beautiful wedding dress. Caroline's outfit earned this distinction not only from us, but from many glossy publications and from Meghan Markle, who was inspired by it when discussing her second wedding outfit with Stella McCartney. After the wedding, Carolyn found herself in a whole new world, and she didn't like it right away. Paparazzi, who could not forgive themselves for missing the wedding, besieged a brick 9-story building which housed the apartment of the newlywed. The newlywed Madame Kennedy was terribly burdened by the fame that fell on her, and she could not think of anything better than to hide from it all. Carolyn quit her job and almost never left home. The first 6 months after the wedding, Caroline Bisset, Kennedy deliberately attended all public events in the same black dress. The The woman hoped that in this form it will bore the public, but this behavior only fueled interest, and soon she was talked about as a new style icon. In photos, John and Carolyn looked incredibly happy couple. Alas, it was just a picture. According to the recollections of their friends, the couple's quarrels often turned into scuffles. She didn't like that he liked to party. He called her a nerd. Within a year of marriage, they were spending many evenings apart. It's not hard to guess that it wasn't long before there was a third superfluous person in their relationship. Did you immediately think that John was the cheater? Not at all. At least that is what his many acquaintances claim. But Caroline, during one particularly passionate altercation, told her husband that she was dating Michael Bergen. After Caroline and her husband's death, Michael would write a book about how Bisset often visited his small bachelor apartment. Well, what's a star drama without drugs, antidepressants, and a therapist? In our story, there was room for all this too, and again in the chapter devoted to Carolyn. Locked up of her own free will in a huge apartment, she was tormented by boredom and jealousy. Caroline was sure her husband was cheating on her. Paranoia was heightened by pills prescribed by a doctor she knew, and an uninterrupted supply of white powder. John looked with horror at his beloved woman but did nothing, just tired of her constant tantrums from the aimless existence, from the fact that their beautiful love story was rapidly ending, as trite as it may sound, but perhaps the situation could save the birth of heirs. Kennedy dreamed of that, but Bisset was sharply opposed. On July 15, 1999, Carolyn's older sister, Lauren, invited the Kennedy couple to a restaurant. Lauren was aware that John was flying to his cousin Rory's wedding the next day. Carolyn was also invited, but immediately declined, because at the beginning of the relationship has vowed never to sit in the plain husband. Her sister begged to make an exception and said she would be happy to keep them company. So they parted ways, agreeing to meet at the airport. "It'll be great," she said as we left. Everything seemed to be against the company boarding the plane that day. Carolyn had had terrible headaches since morning. John had had all his appointments canceled. Lauren had been delayed at work and afterward had been caught in Friday traffic. To make matters worse, the co-pilot was on vacation. Nevertheless, at 8:38 p.m., the Piper Saratoga private jet took to the air. It was already dusk. Cloudy skies had formed along the flight path that evening, causing difficulties as many pilots noted. Kennedy encountered them as well. At 9:40 p.m., on another turn, John became disoriented and, sending the craft into a spin, crashed into the ocean surface. All three of them died. Their bodies would be found only 5 days later. Another day later, they would be cremated and their ashes scattered near Martha's Windward Island, where they had flown that fateful evening. Had that flight not taken place, John and Carolyn's marriage would inevitably have ended. She probably would have gone to some rehab clinic, and he probably would have rekindled his relationship with Daryl Hannah. But, as one of their closest friends noted, only this disaster allowed them to keep the vow they made in church to stay together until death do them part. Friends, I thank you for watching this video. I ask you to subscribe to the channel and appreciate this video. See you again soon.